fellow bakers, and welcome back to Bake Off Calories, where we create healthier versions of the delicious bakes inspired by the Great British Baking Show. Today, we're on Season 1, Episode 2, Biscuits, which can be anything from crackers to cookies, biscuits, or scones. Or is it scone? Either way, today I'll be baking a clean cranberry orange scone. The fresh, fruity flavors are sure to brighten up any morning, or afternoon, or evening, you pick. Either way, a couple things to note with this recipe. It only calls for about 2 tablespoons of butter, which does change the texture a little bit. So where you typically have a crunchy exterior, you still get that, but the inside is less crumbly and more chewy and soft, kind of like a biscuit. Stay tuned afterwards to see how many calories we bake off today. And if you're ready, then get set and let's bake off the calories. We'll start this recipe with 1.5 cups total flour. I use 3/4 cup whole wheat and 3/4 cup white flour. Then we'll add 1 teaspoon cinnamon, 1.5 teaspoons baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon nutmeg, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Give that a quick whisk. And then I like to dump this into a food processor to add the butter. It makes it a nice crumbly texture. So if you have a small food processor or even a blender might do. And then 2 tablespoons unsalted butter, cubed. Give it a quick pulse. It doesn't take very much, just a few pulses to blend those chunks down a little bit. And then I end up dumping this back into my bowl and working it with my fingers to make sure it's the right texture and there's not too many large clumps of butter. So you'll work it down and kind of smush those big chunks of butter into smaller bits and make sure it's just a nice crumbly texture. Pop this in the freezer while you make your wet ingredients. Starting our wet ingredients, we'll use 1/2 cup of non-fat plain Greek yogurt, and we'll mix in 4 tablespoons each stevia and freshly squeezed orange juice, nothing out of a bottle, please. 1.5 teaspoons apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of orange zest, which is about 2 small or 1 large orange, 1 teaspoon vanilla, and whisk those together. Then you'll fold in the cranberries, 3/4 cup of diced cranberries. I also use a food processor to dice. Just make sure there's no whole cranberries in the mix. Then you can dump those wet ingredients into the dry and mix together, but make sure you do not overmix if you are using a blender. Once I get it mostly stirred together, I actually like to use my hands to get in there and make sure it's in a nice round dough ball. Once the dough sticks together, place this on your prepared sheet with parchment paper and smush out until it's about 1 inch thick in a circle and slice into 8 equal wedges. You'll separate those wedges to make sure they brown the sides as well as the top. And then brush with your favorite type of milk. I was using unsweetened vanilla almond milk. Make sure top and sides are coated for even browning. Place this in your prepared oven at 425 and bake for approximately 20 minutes. Mine took a little bit less on convection. While that's in the oven, we'll mix together our glaze, which is 1/4 cup of erythritol pulsed in a food processor or blender, and then 2 to 5 teaspoons total of fluids. Mine took about 4 teaspoons. I was using freshly squeezed orange juice and vanilla almond milk, and then add little bits at a time to make sure you get that right texture without making it too runny. Once you get that nice glazed consistency, I put mine into a zipper bag for a decorative glaze finish, but you can also do rustic. As you bring those scones out, they should be a nice golden brown. Mine are a tad more brown than typical because of the whole wheat flour. And then once they are completely cooled, you can glaze as decorative or rustic as you like. Delicious, healthy cranberry orange scones. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Bake Off Calories. You can see full recipe and macros in the description below this video. But to give you an idea, we compared this recipe to a typical cranberry orange scone. Let's take a look and see how much we saved. We saved a total of 3.5 grams of fat, 30 grams of carbs, 25 grams of sugar, and 150 calories baked off for this recipe, for a grand total of only 110 calories per scone. If you enjoyed this recipe, feel free to hit the like button. If you have any tips, tricks, or modifications that you used and would like to share with others, please leave those in the comments section. Or if you'd like to join the adventure, please subscribe. You can also follow us on Pinterest, Facebook, and Instagram at Bake Off Calories. I hope to see you next time.